Just give me the signal when you got it, and I'll start talking. So here we're coming back on the show on that. We haven't had him on in a heck of a long time on that. You can see him on Twitter. He still has a show, I believe, the South Side of the Unicorn. We did a lot of shows back in the day, back and forth on radio and stuff, and had a hell of a time on this stuff. And we have the one and only Kenny White. Welcome to IE Newswire with Roy.
Hey, Roy, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you loud and clear, Kenny. We haven't talked in a while of that, and it's been since we had the Trump the Trump election and all that and goings on, and then we've had the COVID and everything going on. But one thing I wanted to do is just get your overall perspective of how we are sitting in that, because I mean, you've probably seen it. The teachers unions have been down in LA. It's starting to break some of the stuff that's been going on of, them calling, doing the racist stuff in that. And what the heck is really behind all this in your view, Kenny White?
Well, thank you for asking me, Roy. Yeah, and it's nice to be back on your show. Thank you for having me. Let me get that straight. It's Ken White, host of the Southside Unicorn Show.
There you go.
You can find me. Yeah, you can find me on bit.ly/unicorn44. That's how you get a hold of me. Brother, this is a hot mess. And you know how I do it. I'm not here to try to be somebody's buddy. I'm not here to be cotton candy pie in the sky. We're way past that. My hat's off to everybody who can, deal with the issues and try to stay lighthearted and look for the rainbow at the end of the storm type of thing. Hey, that's great. But in real history, World War I, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War, the attack on 9/11, we must understand there are people out there who want happy, joy. They want to kill us. They want to destroy America. They want to tear us apart. And if we keep kidding ourselves that they've made it as far as the ranks of our school systems, they've made it as far as the water district, they've made it as far as the city council, whatever you name it, they're there. Our enemies are no longer over there. They're right here with us. So when it comes to the school situation, my brother, the one thing I learned when I was in the United States Air Force was humans are the greatest resource you can have. The Air Force, the military machine, they respected the human resource greater than an artillery, greater than a plane. Because if you don't have competent, healthy human beings, you have nothing to fight with or to defend. So now on to the school system. Here I go with one of my metaphors, brother. If it's raining outside, right? It's raining. I mean, just raining out like crazy. And you got a raincoat on, right? But now you come inside your house, you're nice and dry. Roy, what's the first thing you're going to do?
Grab a towel.
But before you grab the towel, what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to take that raincoat and take it off, and you're going to put it up on the coat rack, right?
Yes.
Well, why did you do that? Because you no longer need it. You no longer need the raincoat because you're out of the rain. Well, that's the same way with Marxists, leftists, crazy Democrats, those we've put in charge of our children, those we've trusted with our schools and education, by which our kids still can't read. They use them like cannon fodder. They had them out there over the summer of 2020, burning, looting, and destroying, and it caused them and gave them the power to topple our election. Now, the most dangerous man in the world is not in the most powerful seat in the world. They got all the power back. So they don't need our kids anymore. They're nothing but a wet raincoat. And they'll put them up on hooks. They'll give them a little bit of TV time to try to make it look like they're doing school with them. but they only spend an hour with them while they're laughing at the parents saying, well, we're not your babysitters no more. How dare they? They don't need our children anymore, Roy. So that's why you see everything you see going on. They got what they want. They got our country.
I couldn't agree with you more on that because as I see it, it's that. I mean, if there is one silver lining in this, is you're finally seeing it live and in color what's been going on behind the scenes for decades. And
undeniable now.
Yes.
I mean, you can still put your head in the sand, but it's undeniable. You're right, brother.
And and I think, and I want to get your take on this, in the emphasis of the recall of Gavin Newsom, I'm starting to see that 50% plus one majority now starting to say, hey, we're fed up with this. I think of the 1.9 million signatures on the board right now to recall Gavin Newsom, almost 25% or 400,000 plus are registered Democrats.
True story. Because the bottom line is, because this dude is such an elitist, he's such an egalitarian, the only people who can continue to say that Gavin Newsom should be governor, they're making over $100,000 a year. They're working for Big Pharma. They're working for the big corps. They're working for the big three. They're at home. They're telecommuting to work anymore. They are the ones that own a Peloton, but I hope that's not a name branding, but they're the ones with that high value sports equipment in their window, while they work out and do their Zoom meetings. They're the only ones that want this man to still be governor. Those of us with some dirt under our fingernails, this man got to go.
Exactly. I mean, it's in the grand scheme of things. I mean, look at Gavin Newsom. We ran the tape of it at his press conference. Last question. He takes Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom's asked a question about that, and then he derides the two governors that have been free as South Dakota, Kristi Noem and Ron DeSantis of Florida, and then Greg Abbott and Trent's or whatever, the one in Mississippi, who yesterday or the day before opened their states up 100% and said, we've got a double mask. They're reckless, dangerous. We're all going to die because of that. Their actions, and we don't know what we're going to do. Blah, blah, blah. I'm paraphrasing of that, but he's running the scare tactics again. Still, when we have a year of this crap, and and it's not ending. They're not now. Now that they got their hooks in us and they think they got us locked down, they're just going to keep, as the expression goes, they're just going to keep putting the knee on our necks harder.
Well, you couldn't have explained it better, but if you know me, brother, I know you watch my stuff. I watch your stuff, and I invite your people to go look on my Facebook page. March 14th is a day which will live in infamy because this same time last year, they told us, hey, just work with us for 15 days. We need you guys to shelter in place and let us get a handle on this thing. Everything will be all right. That was a year ago. And the whole trick of it is, Roy, and I say this with a boldness, this is why our faith, this is why the First Amendment is very important, and this is why Gavin Newsom attacks it. Because in the scriptures, it says the Lord didn't give us a spirit of fear. That's all they have on us. If they didn't have COVID, if they didn't have COVID-19, where would we be today? What kind of a nation? We wouldn't be cowering behind two masks, that's for sure. And as far as the governors that opened up their states, God bless them. Thank you, because here's the bottom line, and I'm going to be quick about it, Roy. You know me, I love to do my metaphors. This is a metaphor, everybody.
Go for it.
We discovered a planet that's 30 years away. It takes 30 years to get there. It took all the resources of the planet Earth to make a spaceship to get there. So we can't make two. There's only one. We had to use 15-year-old geniuses because it's going to take 30 years to get there, which means they'll be 45 years old when they arrive. Well, they made it to the planet, but the ship is a little bumped up and banged up. It wasn't coming back anyway, but it's a little damaged. So it definitely is not coming back, and we're not going to rescue them. Well, they do their planet analysis and all that, and it's as beautiful as Earth. It's got everything that Earth has, cows, grass, yada, yada, yada. But it's got COVID-19. So now the captain of the ship is thrust with one simple question, Roy. Does everybody live inside the spaceship and end up skeletons inside their spacesuits, or do you open the damn hatch?
No doubt. You have to escape. And you make a great point. What if if you back up a year and this this whole thing not necessarily wouldn't have happened, but if we would have had a reasonable response to it. I mean, we were in one of the greatest, if not the greatest, economic expansion in the history of the world.
It had never been seen in civilization.
Exactly. And in order to bust us down, to break your spirit, they did this, and as we ran the graphic, if you allow them to break the law because of an emergency, they will always keep the emergency going to break the law. And that is what Gavin Newsom, his evil twin governor, as I call him in New York, Andrew Cuomo, is doing. Joe Biden as president on down. I mean, I don't know how you could contrast the lines any clearer.
Brother, this guy said it. I can't remember his name. You're going to have to help me with it. He's a talk show host. His name is Bill Maher.
Bill Maher.
Bill Maher. He's on tape. He's cold busted. He said, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about you. Some people are going to get hurt. But in order to get Donald J. Trump, we're going to have to destroy this economy. You don't think China heard him?
China was behind it.
They heard what he said.
Yes.
He was calling for some backup, and they got it. And, I'm not going to bite my tongue about that. When history's time is done, we need to make sure that our future children understand the crime that China committed. They committed a crime against humanity and the world, and they should never be allowed to escape it because we got a bunch of petulant college pukes in our country who want to be socialists and Marxists. The truth of it is they threw a monkey wrench in our nation.
No doubt about that. And on top of that, we're sitting there with this and we're looking at it. And I just called in the Texas thing. This is what drives me absolutely nuts. And I'm saying, I want to run this by you. Think this is a worthwhile endeavor. Costco, all the big box stores said, we're still going to mandate a mask in our stores, The Dallas Mavericks are not going to open up everything in Texas because we're still going to require that no matter what, no matter that our state is open. I mean, again, and it goes to the China stuff. When are we going to stop buying all this Chinese crap? When are we going to go ahead?
They're cold busted. They're cold busted. Watch this. Respect the science. Honor the rule of law. That's what they say to us when it's working their way. But like you said, you pointed it out. COVID-19 is working too damn good for them. They don't want to let it go. And if they don't keep us in mask, which is psychologically damaging,
yes,
because all you see is a pair of eyes looking at you coldly in the aisle. If they don't keep this thing going, we're going to snap out of it and bring our country back, which is not their intention. And who is it that's doing it, Roy? You called them out. Costco, Target, the big corps, Amazon, the big corps, they are in on this. And you know what we got to do? We got to do just like they did in the 1800s, the 1700s. Wasn't it the mom and pop general store that had a better relationship with the people than these big giant conglomerates anyway?
10-4.
We got to get back to the mom and pops, people who want to just, have a small general store. When I was growing up and we went to Blytheville, Arkansas, because that's where my mama was from, it was a treat to cross that little creek. I call it a creek, and we go to this store. It had an interesting smell because it was a conglomeration of pine sol and candy and all the wares and goods that were in it, right? But even as a child, Roy, I was shocked. Because it had the tab soda, it had the hammers, it had nails, it had wood, and it had groceries all in one place. And the guy was as nice as you please. Sometimes he'd throw an extra piece of candy in our bag. Well, you miss this boy, aren't you? Yes, sir, I am. And what would he do? He'd toss an extra piece of candy in the bag. That's the general store. That's the American working people. To hell with having our children slave in these giant warehouses, and they got to schedule a pee break. We got to throw a monkey wrench back at them.
Exactly, and I tell the story a lot back in the 70s and 80s, and even a more personal example of Moreno Valley Auto Parts. We used to walk in the back door, go up to the counter, look up our own parts, go get them, write it down on the receipt, put it in there, and then go out and not at the end of the month, end of the week, or whatever, we'd square with Jim, the owner of the store, or whatever. That's it. That's what's missing in more of the example like you gave in this little example. That's what we're missing. We're missing that dynamic, that trust, that reliance on your fellow man. Go ahead.
That relationship.
Yes.
You're right. It's relationship. And that's what you and I grew up with, brother. You had relationship. A man could go into a store and, say he was a little off on his check, right?
Yes.
That general store owner would be like, well, Tom, here's that hammer you need. I'm sure I'll see you, right? And because Tom was a good man and his word was good, he picked that hammer up and go do what he had to do. And then he'd bring that man back his money. That ain't happening no more. You know what I mean? And just real quick on this Dr. Seuss thing, do you know why they're attacking Dr. Seuss? Can I tell the people why?
Go ahead, let her rip.
Because they already got us cornered. Look at most of our news stations. Look at most of our broadcasters. They are scared to death to say anything that's not on the paper. They're scared to death to say something that's not factually provable. But how do you raise a young person? You teach them to dream. You teach them about imagination. And that's what Dr. Seuss is about. That's what the Cat in the Hat is about. He talked to our children and he made them do what? He made them imagine the chapeau from France. You see what I'm saying? Because he opened up imagination. They're trying to kill imagination in our children. They're going to create the most gross automaton you've ever seen if we let these monsters keep controlling our talking points.
Exactly. I mean, it goes back to like you were talking about with the masks, with this. They're stripping your humanity. They're stripping your
right off of us.
Free thought, anything, relationships of that. Don't trust anybody. Don't make it to where you gotta you gotta take your temperature, wear a mask. Everybody's looking, monitoring every move you make. On top of this, and they're dehumanizing us, and it's sickening.
It's horrible. So bro, let me just slip this in here real quick. You know how I do it. I wouldn't even be opening my mouth if it wasn't for who telling me, Kenny, I need you to open your mouth. So I just want to put this out there for the listeners. Go on my page, go anywhere you want to look, and go look at April of 2019. What did I tell the people? I said that the Holy Spirit told me to tell you that this is all you get. This is all you need to see. How much more of this do you need to see? And if you don't take action, right, in the year 2020, you will be wearing masks. I said that. I wrote that. It's time-stamped. It can't be changed. Yes. Facebook wish they could take it down. You've seen it, right?
Yeah.
And so here we go. We lost our President Trump. 2016 to 2020 was our get it together season. That was our get it together season. And we let the Democrats do ballot voting right in our face.
It's incredible. I mean, same thing. I said, I said it before the election. I said, I was much more confident Trump was going to win on November of 2016 than I was in 2020 because I said, watch it. I said, they're in key spots. Look, there's going to be all of a sudden they're going to kick over boxes and ballots are going to appear out of nowhere.
And they did it. Brother, you know what they freaking did? And there's another one, just real quick. On election day, right? brother. And I don't know how early did you go vote? When did you vote? Did you vote early in the day
No,
or late in the afternoon?
actually, because of the California change in that our voting systems are, at least Riverside County, I went to the polls at about 11 o'clock in the morning on November 3rd.
See, and for me, I was right there because my grandfather, he lived in a time when he couldn't vote. Now, he ultimately got his right to vote, but he existed in a time that if he had tried to vote, they would have killed him dead.
Right.
And he made me promise. He called me Sonny Boy. He said, Sonny Boy, you promised me you will always vote. I've never missed an election, ever. So make a long story short, I went at 7 o'clock in the morning and I did my thing, right? And as I'm coming home, the Holy Spirit jumped all over me and said, 9:35 p.m., the false king shall speak. Roy, go back and look at the tapes. Go back and look at election night. And it may have been 12:35 in New York. It may have been 12:35 in Washington, D.C. But based on the time that I'm in, which is Pacific Standard Time, at 9:35 p.m., Biden's face popped up on the screen. Now, I put that on my Facebook. It's timestamped too. Can't be escaped by anybody. Go look at it. And it was right there. It said at 9:35, the false king shall speak.
And he did. And we'll have to pick this up later. But one of the things I want to do is, or one of my things that I think we really on top of the recalls, we need to get back to one day, one election vote. We all go to the polls. Everybody's watching. These 30-day elections have got to go. We got about 30 seconds left. I'll let you wrap it up. Kenny White.
Okay, here we go. We have to accept in the California GOP and in the GOP, Roy, it has changed. It has been so much time gone by that the new GOP citizens don't look like they used to. And if we don't start embracing these newer, younger Republicans that are in our faces, the GOP is going to die.
No truer words have probably ever been spoken. Thanks for being on, Kenny. It's been far too long. We'll have to do it again real soon.
Thank you for having me on, brother.
You got it. That was Kenny White. Long time. I did a lot of shows with him. He's great. You can catch him on Twitter. I'm probably blowing it, but just Kenny White, south side of the unicorn. You'll find him on there all across the board as we go on this deal. But that's it for our bonus coverage on that. We'll be back tomorrow on Friday, as we usually do, in a fast, freaky, fun, frivolous, felonious Friday, as we do. So, along top of that, and until about a little less than 23 hours, see ya.
Later, brother.